The courtroom is quiet, save the faint rustling of papers. All eyes are on Kody Brown as the judge's gavel comes down, but what is revealed next leaves everyone reeling. Secrets long hidden are about to be exposed, things that could destroy a family forever. You won't believe what happens in the next few moments. CTA, tune in with me, because what occurs here in this courtroom may change everything for the Brown family. Morning sunlight pours in through the high windows of the courthouse, creating long shadows on the shiny wooden floors. The air clings not only with the aroma of coffee and worn leather, but also with tension, as if the building is waiting in suspense. Kody Brown sits sternly at the defense table, his hands gripped so tightly his knuckles turn white. Surrounding him are his wives, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, sitting with differing looks of worry, anger, and shock. The case has been simmering for months, a complex set of accusations set around issues of properties, claims of secret funds, and a stunning charge of manipulation between the wives themselves. Outside, there's the media horde like a pack of wolves that smells blood, cameras snapping as they film each strained face. But within, time appears to crawl. Each step along the corridor is reverberated like a drumbeat announcing the commencement of something irrevocable. Judge Henderson, a large man with a piercing look and little patience for drama, calls the court to order. "We will continue," he asserts, his voice steady but slicing through the anxiety like a blade. Robyn angles forward slightly, lips clamped tightly together, eyes flicking toward Kody. Christine, however, sits back, arms folded, a flash of defiance in her eyes. Janelle's hands tremble slightly, betraying nerves she's trying desperately to hide, while Meri's eyes are fixed downward, lost in thought, trying to prepare herself for the testimony that is about to begin. The first witness is summoned, an accountant who has discovered inconsistencies in the family's books. As he testifies, he arrays figures and dates, the courtroom suspended on every detail. Robyn's expression darkens as she listens. Christine arches an eyebrow, almost relishing the tension. Kody squirms in his chair, swallowing hard, beads of sweat tracing along his hairline. The air is charged with tension, and every phrase thickens the air with anticipation. When the witness concludes, the cross-examination starts. Christine slouches forward, her voice crisp and pointed, every question delivered with impact. Robyn clamps her lip tight, suppressing a riposte that might burst forth at any moment. Kody's heart is pounding as he observes the dynamics play out, seeing that the court is not only observing a trial by law but the disintegration of relationships he once believed impervious to damage. The first crack in testimony arrives, and the families file out of the courtroom. The hallway is filled with whispers, rumors of secret papers, secret meetings, and who's turning on whom. Kody ambles down the hallway, bookend by attorneys, the burden of his decisions etched on each step. Meri overtakes him, her tone gentle, near pleading. "We have to be careful, everything's coming out now." Kody acknowledges, sensing the severity but not knowing what the next few moments will require. As they head back to their seats, a sudden uproar at the rear of the courtroom commands everyone's attention. A new evidence has been presented, something nobody anticipated. The judge stops, gazing at the paper in stunned amazement, then up at the Browns. A silence descends over the room. Might this be the break that alters everything about the Browns? The courtroom drops into an uncomfortable silence as the judge looks over the freshly introduced evidence, a thick file that no one had expected. Kody's hands shake a little as he goes to take it, the pressure of the moment bearing down on him like a physical weight. Robyn leans forward, her eyes squinting, reading through each page, her heart pounding as she tries to work out what secrets could be uncovered. Christine smirks faintly but cautiously, sensing the power this moment could wield, while Janelle's fingers twist in her lap, knuckles white, the fear of confrontation written across her face. Meri's chest tightens, a mix of dread and anticipation, as the folder is handed to the judge, who slowly opens it and begins to read aloud. The voices resonate in the courtroom. Bank records, emails, and text messages that imply manipulations and secret messages none of the wives knew anything about, indicating conspiracies and betrayals that undermine the very foundations of the family. Kody breathes unsteadily, the walls of the courtroom closing in. The cameras of the media flash unceasingly, recording every micro moment of expression, every flutter of feeling.
The day's first witness, a financial auditor, is sworn in and starts to unveil a pattern of unauthorized transfers and mismatches, highlighting certain dates on which funds are going in and out of accounts without a rational explanation.
Robyn's eyes widen as she comprehends just how deep-seated the entanglement is, while Christine sits back in her chair, the slightest smirk of satisfaction crossing her face as she listens intently. Janelle's breathing quickens. She feels the anxiety coiling inside her like a spring ready to snap, and Meri's lips press tightly together, to maintain composure, the thought of exposing decades-long secrets threatening to overwhelm her. Kody observes his wife's responses, aware that each disclosure is not only legal testimony but also a trust blow, a blow to family harmony, to the sensitive equilibrium that all three of them have been working to uphold. Every number, every secret note is akin to a dagger thrust through the carefully built walls of secrecy. Christine stands up to cross-examine, her voice steady but aggressive, cutting the auditor's words to ribbons, questioning them not only to seek facts but to probe for weaknesses and draw out admissions from those who had believed themselves beyond reach. Robyn leans forward, lips clenched, the need to interrupt struggling with the need to allow the legal process to take its course. Janelle's hands shake as she struggles to compose herself, hoping her own secrets aren't about to come out, and Meri looks down at the courtroom floor, dashing through years of unvoiced truths and half-truths that now risk being revealed. A hushed whisper circulates in the courtroom as the auditor refers to one specific transaction that appears to bind two of the wives in a manner no one was expecting, and for an instant, the atmosphere is heavy with incredulity. Kody experiences a flash of shame and perplexity. Doubt hangs on his mind regarding fidelity, love, and the after-effects of secret actions. The judge holds up a hand, requesting that the court be silent, but the electricity continues to cling to the air, making the seconds feel like hours. The second witness is called, a one-time family friend who insists that she has overheard intimate conversations, stating that certain choices were arrived at not for the sake of family peace, but for individual gain. Robyn's eyes brim over with tears as she listens, hurt and anger churning in a whirlpool of feeling, and Christine's body stays tense, her jaw set as if preparing for the consequences. Janelle breathes shakily, attempting to calm her pounding heart, and Meri senses her stomach twisting into anxious knots, knowing that what they are being told could destroy years of careful secrecy. The courtroom leans forward, hanging on every word, decades of secrets waiting with every revelation. Will the Browns be able to make it through this exposure, or is this the time when everything falls apart for good? As the testifying goes on, tensions escalate, voices are raised, emotions spill over, and the cold, harsh reality of betrayal slams like a tidal wave. Kody's face pales as accusations and insinuations mount, and he is torn between justifying what he has done, defending his wives, and confronting realities he has long denied. Robyn's voice shakes as she finally speaks out, disputing a witness's testimony, her words laced with hurt and defiance. Christine's counterattacks are biting, almost surgical, cutting apart every story, challenging motives, and squeezing out confessions. Janelle bites her lip, trying not to cry out as she listens to allegations that strike too close to home, while Meri's eyes glisten with unshed tears, the strain of maintaining composure nearly breaking her resolve. Outside the courtroom, whispers spread through the hallways, reporters exchanging theories, gossiping about secret alliances and emotional rifts. Within, the judge orders a short recess, and the family files out of the bench, heavy with footsteps, faces creased in tension. Kody moves slowly, the weight of the drama that is unfolding revealed in every step. Robyn props herself lightly on his arm, grasping at some semblance of comfort, while Christine keeps her poised demeanor, concealing the tempest of thoughts behind her piercing stare. Janelle breathes heavily, trying to muster the strength, and Meri moves along with her head down, absorbed in thought. In the corridor, snatches of conversation can be heard, scraps of accusation and terror that leave the air thick with expectation for the next session. When they resume in the courtroom, the atmosphere changes once more, becoming even more taut as the next witnesses take the stand. The attention now shifts to one-on-one confrontations, those moments when one wife confronts another with bare emotion, the camera freezing on the tiny spasms of fear, anger, and betrayal that flash across her face. Kody watches silently, taking in the tension, as the judge observes intently, interjecting with questions to clarify, sometimes only adding to the drama. Every disclosure seems to be one more brick crashing from the foundation of trust that once bound the family together. Robyn rises to offer her side of things, tears running down her cheeks as she speaks of intimate moments and suspected deceptions, her voice shaking but unwavering, shrinking the courtroom with the trappings of raw emotion. Christine responds, dignified but relentless, questioning stories and pushing the limits of inconsistencies, her voice tightly controlled yet stinging. Janelle mutters to herself, begging for courage, and Meri clutches her notebook as she silently rehearses what she will say next. The volleying goes on, building with each repetition. Disputes over intentions, trust, and loyalty are mixed with legal testimony, and the atmosphere is as much a part courtroom as it is one of emotional war. Every look, every hesitant speech conveys meaning. Kody sees himself slipping toward desperation, knowing the walls he thought were constructed decades ago might be weakening more quickly than he can adapt. Suddenly, a fresh paper is presented by the prosecution. A string of text messages from Kody to one of the wives that contradict earlier testimony. Gasps circulate through the courtroom, and the wives share brief glances of shock, suspicion, and betrayal. Robyn's hands tremble as she attempts to keep up with the consequences, and Christine's mouth purses into a line, a glimmer of victory in her eyes. Janelle suppresses a sob, and Meri swallows hard, the anticipation now almost too much to bear. This could be the instant which turns everything around, and nobody has a clue how the Browns will come out of it. The judge orders a break to examine the new evidence, and the family goes outside once more, the burden of what has been learned weighing on each of their shoulders. Kody sits against the wall, spent, guilt and concern etched upon his face. Robyn has her arms crossed over herself, attempting to maintain composure while struggling not to scream in frustration. Christine walks slowly, her mind computing, forecasting, as Janelle breathes deeply a couple of times, trying to level out her feelings. Meri remains still, eyes shut, quietly praying for strength, for clarity, for a solution hovering just out of sight. The recess is over, and they're back in the courtroom, the atmosphere charged with expectation. Testimony continues, and now the spotlight turns to alliances within the family itself. Secret tensions come to a head, ulterior motives are revealed, and the courtroom is transformed into a stage for unfiltered, raw emotion. Viewers sit, enthralled, as one revelation follows another, each turning the tale in dramatic directions. Robyn's voice ascends in outrage as she accuses an imagined betrayal. Christine fires back with biting, acidic words. Janelle begs for compassion, and Meri works to stay neutral, the stakes higher than ever. Kody sits at the center of it all, soaking up each blow, each accusation, each tear, each whisper of doubt. The drama has come to a boiling point, and the next revelation could very well seal the fate of the entire family. Just as the session is ending, the prosecution makes a bombshell, a long secret family document that implies that one of the wives might have been involved in making decisions that controlled finances and relationships to serve her own interests. Shockwaves spread through the courtroom. Robyn gasps, Christine briefly smirks, Janelle's hands fly to her face, and Meri stands agog, speechless. Kody bends forward, the sting of betrayal and the overwhelming complexity of the moment. The judge hesitates, the silence suspended, then brings the session to a close. All exit slowly, the reverberations of the day's disclosures left lingering in the air. Reporters throng outside, demanding comments, but the family proceeds, a tenuous group suspended between courtroom warfare and emotional disintegration. The camera records every look, fear, anger, sadness, and defiance, each providing a clue to what follows. The third day of the trial begins with a heaviness that seems almost tangible, the air inside the courtroom thick with anticipation and fear, as if everyone present can feel the weight of the secrets about to be exposed. Kody sits at the center of the room, shoulders tense, jaw tight, his mind racing through every past decision, every whispered conversation, every choice that has led to this moment, while Robyn leans forward, eyes fixed on the whist, while Robyn leans forward, eyes fixed on the whist, while Robyn leans forward, eyes fixed on the whist, while Robyn leans forward, eyes fixed on the whiffs, while Robyn leans forward, eyes fixed on the whiff, while Robyn leans forward, eyes fixed on the crossing her features as she braces herself for what is coming. Christine sits perfectly poised, her posture deliberate, radiating a controlled intensity that warns anyone daring to challenge her. Janelle's hands fidget nervously in her lap, trying to find comfort in the cool wood beneath her fingers, and Meri's gaze drifts toward the floor, her thoughts spinning with dread, anxiety, and the faint glimmer of determination, as the judge calls call of determination, as the judge calls call of determination, as the judge called. This witness, a longtime family confidant, begins recounting private conversations, moments once thought safe within the walls of the Brown home, revealing tensions, arguments, and clandestine meetings that were carefully hidden from public view, the words landing like a series of jolts that make Kody's chest tighten, Robyn's eyes widen, and Christine's lips purse ever so slightly, the quiet energy of the room shifting as each detail unfolds. The quiet energy of the room shifting as each detail unfolds. Courtroom has become more than a legal arena. It is now a stage for truth, betrayal, and the unearthing of emotions that have long been suppressed, each sentence carrying the weight of years of secrets and misunderstandings. The tension is unbearable, and every heartbeat feels like a countdown to revelation. As the confidant goes on, specific events are laid out in vivid detail. A secret financial deal, a clandestine meeting between two of the wives, hushed complaints, and grievances that were never publicly spoken, the kind of revelations that create waves of shock and disbelieving murmurs among anyone listening, and yet, the calm and unflappable smile of Christine seems almost sinister. Her eyes glinting with an intensity that implies she seems almost sinister. Her eyes glinting with an intensity that implies she seems almost sinister. Her eyes she's glinting with an intensity that implies she seems almost sinister. Her eyes glinting with an intensity that implies she seems almost sinister. Her eyes. Voice shakes ever so slightly as she musters herself to counter certain assertions, and Janelle squirms in her seat, a wave of fear and indignation rising in her face as she considers the implications for her own reputation, and Meri clenches her notebook tightly, trying to retain composure but feeling the walls closing in with every word. Kody's mind reels as he listens to accusations, memories, and interpretations of what's past. Each weeds of what's past. Each weed what's past. Each weed interpretations of what's past. Each weed arrows what's past. Each weed and what's past. Each weed of what's past. Each weed new weed. His family, forcing him to wonder at his judgment and the fruits of his actions, the courtroom seeming smaller with every second as the intensity of feeling grows. The prosecution leans forward, prodding the witness further, asking pointed questions that reveal not only facts but motives, subtle betrayals, and shifting allegiances within the family, the answers given with hesitation, with fear, with pride, and sometimes with regret. Each hide, and sometimes with regret. Each pride, each win tip regret, each regret, and sometimes with regret, each then sometimes with regret, each then sometimes with regret, building a sense of suspense that is almost choking, while the judge watches intently, absorbing the unrolling complexity and sometimes interjecting with clarifying questions that only serve to heighten the tension and emotional impact in the room. Every revelation feels like a shockwave, sending tremors through the hearts of everyone listening. Kody leans back, exhaling shakily, realizing that the testimony is not just about legal liability, but about exposing vulnerabilities, relationships, and the fragile bonds holding the family together, the emotional stakes higher than ever, as Robyn finally rises to address certain claims, her voice quivering yet resolute, recounting moments that were misinterpreted, challenging the narrative being constructed, trying to defend her trying to defend her trying to defend her shade offender as Robyn fender claims. Her voice quivering yet resolute, relation constructed, challenging the narrative being constructed, trying to defend her claims, prepares her cross-examination, her words sharp, surgical, and relentless, designed not merely to rebut but to assert control over the narrative, forcing each witness to confront uncomfortable truths and pushing Kody and pushing Kody and pushing Kody and the others to the edge of emotional endurance. Janelle sits in stunned silence for a moment, then gathers herself to speak, her voice breaking as she recounts her perspective on events. The hurt in her tone piercing, is 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 her voicing, is with the hurt in her tone piercing as tones her perspective on events, the hurt in her tone piercing, her sartoned, her stunned head offering testimony in a measured, controlled voice, yet the undercurrent of emotion is unmistakable, revealing fear, sorrow, and quiet defiance as she addresses the court. The tension escalates further as a surprise witness is brought forward, someone who claims to have witnessed private discussions between Kody and the wives regarding financial decisions and family strategy. The statements shaking the very foundation of trust. The court trust, 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 delivers intricate details, implying hidden motives, favoritism, and manipulations that no one had imagined. Robyn recoiling slightly as she processes the gravity of what is being said, Christine nodding subtly, her eyes sharp and calculating, Janelle covering her mouth in disbelief, and Meri's grip tightening on her notebook as she struggles to maintain control of her emotions. The prosecutor's questions grow more pointed, pushing Wittented, pushing Wittented, pushing Wittented, pushing Wittented, pushing Wittented, pushing Wittented. Uncomfortable truths, and the courtroom becomes a battleground not just for facts but for emotional dominance, with each wife responding in her own way. Kody sitting at the center, absorbing the storm of accusations, realizations, and revelations, feeling the weight of responsibility and the fragility of the family he has built. The tension coiling tighter with each passing minute, every pause pregnant with anticipation, every glance loaded of anticipation, every glance loaded of thwarted fear, anger, and disbelief. No one can predict the next turn, and the suspense is nearly unbearable. As the testimony continues, flashbacks are referenced, moments from past seasons of the family's life projected into the courtroom through carefully documented evidence, photographs, and recordings, each serving as proof of claims, contradictions, and hidden dynamics. Robyn reacting with tears and frustration at misrepresented moments, Christine calmly dissecting each flashback for inconsistencies, Janelle wincing at recollections that hit inconsistencies, Janelle wincing at recollections that hit inconsistencies, Janelle wincing at recollections that hit inhibitions, Christine calmly's life awakenings, Christine calmly's instances, Janelle wincing at recollections that hit inconsistencies in a frustration, past memories with present revelations, Kody silent, head bowed at times, then lifting it to observe the emotional reactions of his wives, the weight of the situation pressing down like a storm about to break. Tensions boil over as one of the wives directly confronts another in the courtroom, their voices rising, emotions spilling uncontrollably, accusations flying, truths finally spoken aloud that had been hidden for years. The judge called that had been hidden for years. The judge called that had been hidden for years. The judge called the wild that had been hidden for years. The judge called that the imismawadu intentionally spoken aloud that had been hidden for years. The judge called it aloud that had been hidden for years. The judge called it aloud that had been. The room to settle, Kody feeling his heart pound, knowing that the family's cohesion is at risk with every exchanged word. Robyn's face streaked with tears as she demands honesty, Christine's posture rigid and unyielding as she defends herself, Janelle's voice cracking as she pleads for understanding, and Meri's eyes glistening with unshed tears as she attempts to interject carefully, trying to mediate, all while the audience, both in the courtroom and beyond, feels the gravity and intensity of the moment. Every interaction is a high-stakes game, and the outcome is anyone's guess. A confidential letter, submitted secretly to the court, is revealed mid-session, implicating alliances no one had anticipated, shock rippling through the family as they try to comprehend the implications, Robyn gasping, Christine's eyes narrowing, Janelle biting her lip, and Meri drawing a shaky breath. all realizing that the secrets of the past are now irreversibly entwined with the present, and every response carries enormous consequence. The present and every response carries enormous consequence. The golder enormous consequence. The consequence. The consequence. Turns questioning the witness, probing for inconsistencies, for hidden motives, for admissions that could turn the tide, the room alternately tense, silent, and punctuated by emotional outbursts, Kody watching helplessly at times, at other moments asserting himself to clarify a misrepresentation, each beat feeling like a knife slicing through the veneer of civility, Robyn trying to hold her composure, Christine thriving in the confrontating, 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 attempting to mediate, the courtroom an emotional pressure cooker with no release in sight. Just when it seems the tension cannot rise further, a recording is played, capturing a conversation between Kody and one of the wives that contradicts previous statements, the room freezing as everyone absorbs the implications, Robyn's hands shaking, Christine's lips curling into a faint, knowing smile, Janelle's chest tightening with fear, and Meri's eyes widening with fear, and Meri's eyes widening with fear, and Meri's eyes widenings wide Meri's eyes widenings wide Meri's eyes widening Robyn's eyes widenel release and tightenings, Ben's eyes widenel, Janelle's chest tightening with fear, hanging over the room like a storm cloud ready to unleash. The suspense is relentless, and the next revelation could change everything. The judge pauses, letting the weight of the moment settle, then resumes questioning, the family responding with emotion, reasoning, and sometimes desperation, each word a delicate balance between truth and self-preservation. The drama reaching new heights as personal grievances and legal strategy collide in a tense dance of disclosure, accusation, and defense, Robyn's voice trembling with anger and hurt, Christine's controlled tone sharp and precise. Just rolled tone sharp and precise. Just rolled tone sharp and precise. Just dodged tone sharp and precise. Just Kirstein's controlled tone sharp and precise. Just feist. Just us. Quest trembling with anger. Christine's controlled tone sharp and precise. Meri's measured yet tense testimony attempting to steady the storm, and Kody at the center, absorbing it all, struggling to maintain composure, love, and reason in the face of unrelenting scrutiny. As the session nears its conclusion, the final witness delivers a revelation that sends a collective shiver through the courtroom, implicating relationships, hidden decisions, and personal motives in a way that no one anticipated. Robyet no one anticipated. Robyet no one anticipated. Robyet anticipated. Robyet the Sefteroom. Trembling and Meri frozen in thought, the future of the family teetering on a knife's edge, the session closing with the judge calling for a recess, the echoes of emotion, tension, and suspense lingering, leaving the audience desperate to see what comes next and questioning the very foundations of trust within the Brown family. The courtroom opens on the fourth day of testimony, the atmosphere heavier than ever, almost suffocating, as if every brick and beam is holding the anticipation and dread of what is about to unfold. Kody sits rigid, shoulders squared but eyes betraying exhaustion, while Robyn leans forward, clutching her hands together, the tremor of anxiety barely contained as she braces herself for another wave of revelations. Christine sits with a poise of revelations. Christine sits with a poise, tension like a scalpel. Janelle's chest rises and falls rapidly, her fingers gripping the edge of the bench, and Meri sits still, lips pressed tightly together, her eyes scanning the courtroom, trying to predict the next emotional blow, the judge calling the court to order, his gavel echoing sharply through the room, each sound amplifying the suspense already thick in the air. And the first witness, a former employee who claims to have intimate knowledge who claims to have intimate knowledge who claims to have intimate knowledge of blow, claims to have intimate knowledge of blow, lip claims to have intimate knowledge of blow, who claims to have intimate knowledge of lines, claims to have intimate knowledge of play, in recounting heated arguments, covert decisions, and secret discussions that no one outside the family could have imagined. The witness describes moments of manipulation, whispered deals, and confrontations that Kody himself struggles to remember, the words landing like hammers on the fragile structure of trust between the wives. Robyn's hands tremble as she processes the allegations. Christine leans back slightly, eyes narrowing as if allegations. Christine leans back slightly, eyes narrowing as if allegations. Christine leans back slightly, eyes narrowing as if allegations. Christine leans back slightly, eyes narrowing as if almonds. Christine leans back slightly, eyes narrowing as if as trying to maintain composure, and Meri's eyes widen with shock and disbelief, realizing that the depth of secrecy has been underestimated. The tension is unbearable, and every heartbeat feels like it could shatter the fragile balance of the family. As the witness goes on, the court is shown documents, emails, text messages, and private notes that support some accusations and refute others, each piece of evidence arousing a combination of anger, betrayal, and shock among the wives. Kody's fists clench into fists as he listens, the responsibility and culpability weighing heavy upon him, while Robyn leans forward, eyes shining, the conflict of loyalties and self-preservation etched preservation etched cust 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 stills. Tight, calculated smile, the sort that portends both victory and caution. Janelle gasps shakily, fighting to keep from crying, and Meri swallows hard, preparing herself mentally for the next onslaught of emotional revelation. The prosecutor questions the witness further, eliciting tales of favoritism, clandestine motives, and perceived betrayals, compelling each wife to face unpalatable truths and underlying resentments. The court truths and underlying resentments. The courtroom resentments. The courtroom resentments. The courtrooms exchanged between Kody and his wives, the drama building with every sentence. Can the Browns weather the emotional battering, or is it the moment everything starts falling apart irretrievably? Emotions boil over when a most explosive revelation is made. A closed-door meeting between Kody and one wife hinting at a deliberate scheme to set some against others, the consequences sending everyone in the room reeling. Robyn gasps openly, the betrayal biting hard. Christine's face remains composed, but her eyes flare with perception and calculation. Janelle has her hands over her face, shaking, and Meri grips her hands tightly in her hands tightly in her hands tightly in her grips her hands tightly in her home. And Meri grips her hands tightly in her heart, and tightly in her hands tightly in her room. It closed when other, and Meri grips her hands tightly in her wing. Janelle has her hands tightly in her wrists, her hands tight. Legal implications while Kody sits blank, the dawning realization of what has been revealed sloshing over him like icy water. The judge urges calm, but the emotional tempest refuses to abate. Each witness produced increasing the tension, describing more clandestine machinations, secret alignments, and emotionally charged confrontations that have transpired over years, compelling the wives to relive painful moments in vivid recall. Raw 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 moments in vivid recall. Robyn wives to relive painful moments in vivid recall. Robyn refuses to recall. Robyn Lidwick's compelling moments lives. Robyn for confrontations, the recall. Robyn the of hurt, frustration, and defiance, challenging the truth of allegations, while Christine responds with clinical accuracy, parsing each word for inconsistencies and demanding confessions that can alter the courtroom script. Janelle begs softly for reason and fairness, her voice shaking, and Meri interrupts sparingly, measured but tense, the underlying note of fear and anger unmistakable in her tone. Each word, each look, each pause keeps the look. Each pause keeps the each word, each pause keeps the leggy. Each word, each look, each pause keeps the distance look. Each pause keeps the underlying each word, each pause keeps the. Midway through the session, a shocking audio recording is played, capturing a heated private conversation between Kody and Christine that reveals not just personal disagreements but strategic maneuvering that none of the other wives were aware of, the implications causing audible gasps in the room. Robyn's hands fly to her mouth, disbelief painted across her face. Janelle's chest tightens painfully. Meri's eyes dart between the recording and Kody and Hootie and Hootie and Hootie and who. Meri's eyes dart between the recording and Kody and who. Of calculated composure in her expression, aware of the leverage she now holds, the room seems to hold its breath as the judge pauses, letting the gravity of the evidence settle over everyone, the air thick with tension, and then resumes questioning, each party now hyper-aware of how fragile the family's dynamics have become, Kody struggling to respond, explaining decisions, asserting intentions, yet feeling the weight of judgment from his wife. Responses punctuating every argument, Christine's incisive cross-examination laying bare contradictions, Janelle's heartfelt pleas for understanding breaking through the sterile courtroom setting, and Meri's cautious, reflective statements attempting to mediate chaos, all converging to create a scene of raw emotional intensity. Every revelation, every revelation, every revelation, every tear has the potential to shift the course of this family's story. Just as the emotional stakes reach a fever pitch, a new piece of evidence emerges, handwritten notes, allegedly from Kody, that detail a private plan to influence decisions and manage alliances among the wives, the revelation striking like lightning. Robyn freezes, reading each line with mounting horror and betrayal. Christine's eyes narrow as she absorbs the tactical implications. Janelle's hands tremble uncontrollably, and Meri struggles to may 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 Meri struggles to may Meri struggles to may Meri struggles to may and Meri struggles to may Meri struggles to may Meri struggles to may Meri. Robyn freezes. Janelle's hand struggles to may Meri struggles to may Meri. The audible gasps and scribbling of notes by attorneys. The judge leans forward, studying the notes, and calls for immediate clarification from Kody, whose voice wavers as he attempts to contextualize his intentions, balancing legal explanation with personal reasoning, his eyes meeting Robyn's for a brief, painful moment, her glare sharp and accusing, while Christine sits poised, silently savoring the strategic advantage, Janelle's mouth overing the strategic advantage, Janelle's mouth overing the strategic advantage, Janelle's mouth overs, mingling with the desire to speak, and Meri's mind races, considering the long-term implications for both family and court. The emotional tension is at a breaking point, and no one can predict the next move. As testimony proceeds, attention turns to face confrontations. Robyn and Christine fight words in a tense standoff, voices rising, faces red, eyes flashing with anger and hurt, each accusation met with deflection or clarification. Janelle weeping quietly, caught in a whirlpool she cannot escape, while Meri stands silently, watching, trying to broker peace, straining with both her conscience and the family's disintegration. Kody unearths integration, Kody unearths disintegration, Kody unearths disintegration, Kody unearths disintegration, Kody unearths. Exchange chips away at trust. The courtroom tension builds electrically, interplay of legal scrutiny and raw emotion making intensity almost suffocating, each statement from every witness punctuating the tension, introducing new revelations, new possibilities, new twists to an already knotted web, and the audience can sense the emotional burden bearing down as if they too sit in that room, witnessing every gasp, every tear, every confirm from every gasp, every tear, every confirm from making, every confirm from every confirm from bear, every confirm from abilities, every confirm from making, every gasp, every tear, every confirm from fearing, every confirm from burden, every confirmability, every gasp, every confirm from tear, every confirmability, intensity never been higher. Toward the session's end, a final witness delivers a revelation that shocks everyone. One of the wives allegedly took independent action that influenced the family's finances and relationships, the claim throwing the courtroom into disarray. Robyn freezes, Christine's eyes gleam with awareness of leverage, Janelle stifles a sob, Meri's hands tremble slightly, and Kody's face pales, understanding the depth of disruption, the implications stretching far beyond the courtroom, the implications stretching far beyond the courtroom, stretching far beyond the courtroom, the implications stretching far beyond the courtrooms, the on of the fantastic socks and relations stretching far beyond the courtroom, implications stretching far beyond the courtroom, the implications stretching far beyond relationships and reputations. The judge calls for a recess, the gavel striking the bench with finality, the echoes of drama and suspense lingering in the room, the audience left on the edge of their seats, desperate to see how the Browns will navigate the storm of revelations, confrontations, and emotional upheaval that has consumed them over this session, with every secret revealed, every accusation aired, every tear shed, the family's unveiled, every accusation, the family's unveiled, every accusation, the family's unveiled, every accusation aired. The fifth session opens with a palpable tension in the courtroom, the air almost electric, each member of the Brown family carrying the weight of revelations from the previous days like a storm cloud looming over them. Kody sits rigid, hands clasped tightly on the bench, jaw tense, trying to prepare himself for what he knows will be another emotionally charged barrage, while Robyn leans forward, shoulders hunched, her eyes scanning the courtroom, a courtroom, a rise scanning the courtroom, a courtroom, a courtroom, a courtroom, a of the foot scanning the courtroom, a forward, shoulders hunched, her eyes scanning the courtroom, a forward, a the leans forward, shoulders hunched, her eyes scanning the reflecting in her gaze, Christine sits perfectly composed, her expression a mask of calculated intensity, but the slightest twitch at the corner of her eye betrays her excitement at the unfolding drama. Janelle's fingers nervously tap against the edge of the bench, her breathing shallow as she braces for the next emotional impact, and Meri sits quietly, notebook in hand, trying to ground herself, aware that this session could reveal, calls the court to order, his gavel echoing through the chamber, slicing through the tension like a knife, and the first witness is called, a former confidant of Kody's who claims to have observed private conversations and undisclosed meetings that reveal tensions, hidden motives, and strategic maneuvers among the wives, their voice calm but heavy with implication, each word dripping with consequence and forcing the wives to confront uncomfortable real wives, to confront uncomfortable real wives, to confront uncomfortable real tensible real consequence and uncomfortable real tensions, uncomfortable real tensions, uncomfortable real tensions, and forcing the wives to confront uncomfortable real tensions, uncomfortable real consequence, pretense, and unspoken agreements, the courtroom hanging on every syllable, every inflection, every subtle pause. Kody's hands tighten into fists, his mind racing as he recalls moments he wished had remained private. Robyn's chest tightens with shock and hurt. Christine's eyes glimmer with both calculation and a quiet satisfaction. Janelle bites her lip hard, fighting back emotion that threatens to betray her composure, and Meri's hands tremble a glosure. Spinning through possibilities, explanations, and defensive strategies, the intensity is suffocating and every heartbeat feels like it could the balance of trust and relationships within the family. As the witness goes on, they expose a series of emails and text messages between the wives and Kody, messages that suggest clandestine alliances, private hurts, and choices with secrecy, the implications hitting each member with varying force. Robyn's eyes grow wide as she takes in the extent of the secrecy. Christine's jaw clenches as she starts mentally classifying the ways in which to use the revelation to her own advantage. Janelle shudders 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 advantage. She used the revelation to her own advantage. Janelle shudders advantage. Janelle shudders advantage of the secrecy. And then all shudders advantage. Strategic burden almost intolerable, Kody himself gazing blankly, taking in the compounded complexity of what is being revealed, knowing that each misstep, every miscommunication, every perceived betrayal has now been brought into the courtroom spotlight. The prosecution pushes on, asking pointed questions that compel the wives to dance around inconsistencies in their own testimonies, the tension building with each passing moment, each word, each passing moment, each word, each word, tension, anger, and fear, the media cameras recording every reaction, every flinch, every subtle change of expression, fueling the drama as if the world outside the walls is holding its breath. Robyn finally stands to speak, her voice trembling but firm, defending her choices, her integrity, and her understanding of past events, while Christine instantly rebukes, her voice crisp and slicing, tearing apart Robyn's words for an apart Robyn's words for an any tearing apart Robyn's words for an in apart Robyn's words for an means for integrity, Robyn's words for an media cameras for an otherwise for in terrans, tearing apart Robyn's words for integrity, and forwards for inspiration. Murmurs softly to herself, trying to get a grip on her emotions and silently hoping that no other bombshell is released, and Meri chimes in hesitantly, measured, seeking to inject reason and perspective into the volatile mix. Her voice steady but laced with anxiety. The tension is unrelenting, and every new twist feels like a ticking clock counting down toward emotional rupture. The witness reveals another bombshell, a financial transaction that appears to have been influenced by one wife behind the other's backs. The accusation sending immediate shockwaves through the courtroom, Robyn gasping audibly, her hands flying to her face, Christine's eyes glinting with awareness and strategic calculation, Janelle's chest tightening painfully as she struggles to process the implications, and Meri's mind racing to reconcile the possibility. Kody exhales shakily, realizing that the legal stakes are compounded by the emotional fallout, the courtroom tension rising to a nearly unbearable level as whispers ripple through the room, the audience collectively holding its breath, waiting to see how the Browns will respond, each reaction, each glance, each word carrying profound weight. The judge pauses, reviewing documents and recordings, allowing the silence to stretch, heightening the suspense before it ends, allowing the silence to stretch, heightening the suspense before but piercing tone that slices through the charged atmosphere, forcing Kody and the wives to provide clarity and confront the consequences of their past decisions, their expressions a mix of defensiveness, anger, sorrow, and reluctant admission. Robyn's voice shakes as she recounts moments that were misunderstood or misrepresented, her emotional vulnerability resonating with everyone present. Christine's meticulous dissection of each statement Christine's meticulous dissection of each statement skates. Christine's meticulous dissection of each statement. Be very different. Janelle struggling to balance honesty with self-preservation, Meri carefully selecting her words, and Kody trying to maintain composure while struggling with shame and responsibility. Every discovery, every dispute, and every tear brings the family closer to a breaking point, and the outcome is uncertain. Halfway through the session, a surprise witness appears. A private investigator who alleges that he has gathered proof of clandestine meetings and dialogue contradicting earlier testimony, documents and recordings presented with meticulous detail, revealing discrepancies that send the courtroom into virtual pandemonium. Robyn's hands trembling, Christine's eyes narrowing in calculating expectation. Janelle nervously biting her nails with fear of Zayn, got fear nails with fearfully biting her nails with fear of the session. Janelle nervously biting her nails with fear of stains. Emotions and Kody's jaw clenching as he struggles with the new level of tension. The emotional toll mounts as the investigator describes examples where one wife is said to have had an influence over decisions and communications and manipulate the family dynamic, each disclosure like a spark igniting a powder keg. The tension mounting as the wives exchange charged looks, their past is now laid bare for everyone to see, each disclosure like one wife is disclosure like manipulated fair for everyone to see, love, their tension now laid bare for everyone and motives, compelling Kody and the wives to account for actions, intentions, and silences in the most emotionally charged setting of the trial yet. Robyn's voice rising in frustration and pain, Christine's cool but pointed answers cutting through the melee, Janelle's cries for fairness and understanding forcing her way through her fear, and Meri trying to mediate, struggling to keep balance in the emotionally charged room. Each disclosure, each answer, each disclosure, each answer, each answer, each answer, each answer, each answer, each disclosure, each answer, to the drama, desperate to know the next twist. A shocking recording is introduced. A heated argument between Kody and Christine discussing private family strategy and alliances, the content contradicting previous testimony and igniting an immediate emotional explosion. Robyn gasps and presses her hands to her mouth, Janelle's eyes fill with tears. Meri's hands tighten on her notebook as her heart races, and Kody sits frozen, overwhelmed, while Christine observes with calm calculation, while Christine observes with calm calculation, with calm calculation, with calm calculation, with calm calculation, the courtroom seeming to vibrate with anticipation as the implications ripple through everyone present. The judge calls for order, attempting to restore calm, but the emotional storm refuses to settle. Testimony continues with heightened intensity, each witness carefully unraveling layers of deception, intention, and emotion. Robyn challenging statements with heartfelt fury, Christine dissecting every word with precision, Janelle pleading for a word with precision. Janelle pleading for a word with precision. Janelle pleading for a word with precision. Janelle pleading for a storm refuses dissecting and emotion. Janelle pleading for refuses the turmoil, while Kody attempts to respond with honesty, explanation, and justification, the entire session feeling like a high-stakes emotional chess game, the outcomes uncertain and the stakes impossibly high. Toward the end of the session, a confidential letter is revealed that implicates yet another layer of manipulation and hidden alliance. Robyn recoiling, Christine's eyes glinting with intrigue, Janelle's hands shaking, Meri staring in disbelief intrigue, Janelle's hands shaking, Meri staring in disbelief comes belay high. Far-reaching implications, the courtroom held in a tense silence as everyone anticipates what will come next. The suspense is at its peak, and every revelation threatens to shift the family's fate irreversibly. The judge brings the session to an end, the gavel ringing down with finality, resounding through the charged atmosphere, and the family exits, spent, their faces creased with anxiety, anger, and grief, Robyn brushing away tears from her face, Christine proceeding with quiet resolve, Janelle gasping uncertainly as she fights to compose herself, Meri clutching her notebook to her chest while pondering the day's revelations, and Kody gliding along, birding along, birding along, birding along, birding along, birding along, birds burlations, and Kody gliding along, burleting along, burl vase is Christing and sliding along, birds of vase studdings, and birding barrel along, bird chest fighting gliding along. The audience left in suspense, eager to witness the twists, showdowns, and emotional tempests the next session will produce. The family's cohesion tenuous, and the courtroom now a crucible where long-buried truths and emotions are being thrust into the light, leaving viewers sitting on the edge of their seats, unable to help but watch what unfolds next in the Brown family saga. The sixth session begins with a sense of foreboding, the courtroom heavy with anticipation as if the walls themselves are holding their breath, Kody seated rigid at the center, his hands clasped tightly on the table, jaw clenched, eyes darting between his wives and the judge, the weight of previous revelations pressing down on him like a tangible force. Robyn leans forward, shoulders tense, lips pressed together as she braces herself for the nexus herself for the nexus herself for the nexus herself for the nexus herself for the nexus. Upright, her gaze sharp and calculating, masking the storm of emotions beneath a controlled exterior. Janelle's fingers twist nervously in her lap, her chest rising and falling rapidly as if each breath is a battle to maintain composure, and Meri sits quietly, notebook in hand, her mind racing through every possible scenario and consequence as the judge calls the court to order. The gavel's echo slicing through the thick tension and signaling the thick tension and signaling the twilight. In hands, presenting fingers twising through the thick tension and signaling the twilight. Nodgutskun stalls the court to order, the gavel's echo slicing through the thick revelations than any before. The first witness is called, a longtime friend of the family who claims to have observed intimate conversations and private meetings, recounting incidents that suggest manipulation, favoritism, and covert alliances among the wives, their words measured yet loaded with implication. The courtroom hanging on every syllable as Kody absorbs the testimony, Robyn's eyes widen in shock. Christine's gaze sharpens with Cadden in shock. Christine's gaze sharpens with Cadden in shock. Christine's gaze sharpens with Cadden together, and Meri's hands grip her notebook as the weight of the allegations presses upon them all. The suspense is suffocating, and every second feels like a countdown to emotional rupture. As the witness continues, they present a series of emails, text messages, and diary entries that reveal covert arrangements and private grievances, including meetings where Kody is allegedly influenced by certain wives in ways that others were unaware of, the evidence creating shockwaves through the family. Robyn gasps, her hands trembling as she processes the implications. Christine's eyes narrow, a glint of strategic insight shining through. Justine's eyes narrow, a glint of strategic insight shining through. Justine's eyes narrow, a glint of strategic insight shining through. Justine's eyes narrow, a glint of strategic insight shining through. Justine's insight shining through. Composure, and Meri's heart races as she struggles to reconcile what she thought she knew with what is now being revealed. Kody staring blankly, feeling the weight of responsibility, love, and accountability crashing down upon him in waves of guilt, fear, and frustration. The prosecution presses the witness further, asking pointed questions that force each wife to confront inconsistencies, hidden motives, and unresolved grievances. The room allowed 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 grievances. Each subtle reaction, amplifying the intensity, Robyn's voice quivering as she challenges certain claims, Christine's tone precise and cutting as she dissects statements, Janelle whispering in frustration and disbelief, and Meri cautiously interjecting, trying to navigate the storm while maintaining clarity. Every revelation feels like another brick falling from the fragile foundation of family trust. Midway through the session, a shocking revelation is introduced. A set of private recordings between Kody and one wife, capturing conversations that reveal intentional influence over the other wives and financial decisions. The implications staggering. Robyn presses her hands to her face in disbelief. Christine's eyes glimmer with awareness and strategic calculation. Janelle's hands tremble as panic rises, and Meri's grip tightens on her no as panic rises, and Meri's grip tightens on her no. Meri's grip tightens on her no. Meri's grip tightens on her no. Meri's grip tightens on her no with Orly's, and Meri's grip tightens on her no ones. Meri's grip tightens on her no ones. Janelle's hand strategic
Ramifications. While Kody leans back, head in hands, the enormity of exposure and the erosion of trust threatening to overwhelm him. The courtroom silent but for the whispers of stunned attorneys and the faint rustle of papers. The judge, observing the escalating tension, asks pointed questions to clarify the context, forcing Kody to respond with a mix of explanation, defense, and personal reasoning, his voice faltering at times.
Christine counters with surgical precision. Janelle struggles to interject without breaking down, and Meri attempts careful mediation, each interaction layering suspense and emotional intensity, the stakes higher than ever. The audience can feel the emotional weight pressing in, unable to look away. The testimony goes on with a new witness, a former family assistant who testifies to having witnessed secret meetings and manipulations, bringing documents in contradiction of prior testimony. The courtroom resolving into subtle but palpable tension. Robyn's face goes white as she reads emails suggesting secrecy and favoritism. Christine's posture remains controlled, but her eyes flash with realization and control. Janelle's hands are in realization and control. Janelle's hands are in realization and control. Janelle's hands are in realizations are in friends control. Janelle's hands are in firm spans control, but her eyes flash with realization and control. Janelle's hands are in friends control. Janelle's hands remains control. Heart pounding, while Kody attempts to take in and react to the piling evidence, the courtroom a cauldron of emotion and suspense. The prosecution presses relentlessly, seeking clarifications, pointing out contradictions, and forcing each wife to reply, the exchanges shifting between calm explanation and emotional outburst. Robyn challenging assumptions, Christine picking apart statements, Janelle begging for understanding, and Meri provided standing, and Meri provided standing, and Meri provided ending, and Meri provided dictions, and Meri provided dictions, Janelle begging for understanding, and Meri provided understanding, and Meri provided motives while admitting past errors, the tension so thick it appears to press against the audience itself, every second escalating curiosity and emotional investment. As the session progresses, a handwritten note emerges, allegedly from Kody, detailing private strategies to manage alliances and family decisions, the room collectively holding its breath as each line is read aloud. Robyn recoils, shock and betrayal etched across her face. Christine's eyes gleam with the awareness of newfound leverage. Janelle trembles with fear and confusion. Meri's gaze fixes on Kody, processing the gravity of the disclosure. Assessing 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 the repercussions hitting him like a tidal wave. The judge pauses, letting the silence linger, then resumes questioning, Kody providing clarifications and context. Yet the emotional weight continues to bear down, the wives' reactions a mixture of hurt, disbelief, and calculated observation, the courtroom dynamic shifting with every answer, every glance, every subtle gesture, keeping viewers captivated and on edge. Unexpectedly, a shocking recording is introduced, capturing a heated exchange between two of the wives that exposes secret alliances, manipulations, and emotional confrontations, the content causing audible gasps. Robyn's hands fly to her face. Janelle exclaims softly in shock. Meri's hands tighten in the grip of tension. Kody leans forward, eyes wide, and Christine sits composed yet aware of the strategic advantage, the core 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 of the planets. Meri's hands tightens, the courting leans advantage, the courting order, but the raw emotion refuses to settle, each wife now forced to respond, defend, and navigate the treacherous waters of exposure. Robyn's voice rising with anger and hurt, Christine's precise articulation dissecting each claim, Janelle's trembling pleas for understanding punctuating the courtroom, Meri's cautious interjections attempting mediation, and Kody's faltering yet determined explanations, the interplay of legal scrutiny and Kody's faltering and legal scrutiny and legal scrutiny and Kody's faltering of legal scrutiny and Kody's faltering and Kody's faltering yet and Kody's critical Christine's water scrutiny and Kody's faltering yet determined intensity. The stakes have never been higher, and every reaction could tip the balance. As the session approaches its climax, a sealed letter is revealed, accusing another round of manipulation, concealed motives, and untransparent decisions. Robyn gasping, Christine's eyes lighting up in recognition, Janelle shaking, Meri silently considering the implications, and Kody blanching as the enormity of exposure takes hold. The courtroom quiet except for the rustling of papers and whispers of shock. The emotional charge at an all-tional charge at an all-tional charge at an all except for the rustling of papers at an all-proc, striking sharply, resonating through the chamber, the family exiting drained, their faces inscribed with sorrow, fear, and quiet resolve. Robyn wiping away tears, Christine walking with careful poise, Janelle exhaling tremulously, Meri holding tight to her notebook, and Kody moving deliberately, weighed down by the emotional and legal tempests. The audience left breathless, eager to see how the Browns will weather the drama unfolding before them. The drama unfolding before them. The drama unfolding before them. The unfolding before them. Then, and emotional stakes at an all-time high. The seventh session opens with an unsettling hush falling over the courtroom, the kind that presses against the chest and makes each heartbeat sound louder than the previous one. Kody seated stiffly, shoulders drawn in, fingers laced as he prepares to receive the revelations. Robyn leaning forward slightly, eyes keen but brimming with fear and anticipation. Christine retaining her poised, calculating countenance. The smallest twitch at the edge of her mince, the smallest twitch at the edge of her mince, the smallest twitch at the edge of her min, the smallest twitch at the edge of her mince. Advantage, Janelle biting her lower lip, chest rising and falling in quick motion as she struggles to keep calm, and Meri clutching her notebook, hands shaking slightly, preparing herself mentally for the emotional storm set to break forth. The judge thunders the court to order, his gavel ringing with finality, sounding through the chamber, announcing that this session, unlike any other, will reveal truths to a world that could shatter relationships. 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 Family forever, and the first witness, a former intimate of the family, steps into the stand, their voice measured but heavy with implication, describing private moments, secret conversations, and covert choices that hint at manipulation, favoritism, and clandestine alliances between the wives, the courtroom hanging on their every word, Kody's jaw growing tight as he replays in his mind action and choice. Robyn's chest constricts, eyes 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 constricts, eyes. Robyn's chest constricts, eyes constricts. With awareness and calculation, Janelle's fingers twist anxiously, and Meri leans forward, heart pounding, struggling to read the aftermath. The tension is almost unendurable, and each second feels like a knife in the heart of the family. As the witness goes on, a chain of emails, text messages, and handwritten notes are produced, detailing clandestine communications and activities that contradict prior testimony and reveal concealed grievances and secret plans, the meanings resonating differently with each member. Robyn blanches, her hands shaking as she reads the messages. Christine's eyes spark with understanding and strategic calculation. Janelle's lips compress tightly lesion. Janelle's lips compress tightly lesion. Janelle's lips compress tightly lesion. Janelle's lips compress tightly windinels, tightly lesion. Janelle's lips compress tightly mons. Janelle's lips compress tightly mons. Janelle's. She tries to reconcile these disclosures with what she took to be reality, and Kody leans back, taking in the magnitude of revelation, guilt and fear combining with a frantic urge to explain and defend his family. The prosecution hammers the witness relentlessly, pointing out contradictions, questioning motives, forcing each wife to answer uncomfortable truths. The courtroom hum with emotional energy, Robyn challenging assumptions with raw emotion, Christine countering with surgical precision, Janelle beseeching quietly but fervently for understanding, and Meri respectfully mediating, while Kody stumbles to offer context, explanations, and defenses. The tension so dension, so dension, so dension, so dension, so dension, so dension, so dension. Disclosure is a shockwave, threatening to bring down the fragile balance of trust and love. Midway through the session, a particularly explosive piece of evidence emerges, a recorded conversation between Kody and one of the wives, revealing strategic discussions about managing other family members, influencing decisions, and controlling narratives, the courtroom erupting in barely restrained murmurs. Robyn's hands fly to her face, disbelief and hurt etched across her expression. Christine's lips curl into a faint, knowing smile. Tightly, the tension palpable, while Kody leans back, the gravity of exposure weighing heavily, realization washing over him that every private action, every choice, every whispered conversation has now become a weapon in the courtroom. The judge calls for calm, yet the emotional storm refuses to settle, each witness adding layers of tension with personal accounts, recollections of hidden conflicts, and examples of perceived favoritism or beveratism 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 or bevatension with personal accounts, and examples of perceived favoritism or intentions, Robyn's voice trembling as she demands clarity and honesty, Christine's articulation slicing through emotion with cold precision, Janelle's quiet pleas for fairness punctuating moments of extreme tension, Meri's cautious interjections attempting to maintain balance, and Kody's explanations weaving between justification, remorse, and desperation, the interplay creating a scene of overwhelming emotional intensity. Viewers are riveting a scene of overwhelming emotional intensity. Viewers are riveting a scene of overwhelming emotional intensity. Viewers are riveting a scene of overwhelming emotional intensity. Viewers are riveting a scene of overwhelming emotional intensity. As the session progresses, a surprise witness enters, someone who claims to have witnessed private meetings and secret discussions that directly contradict prior statements, bringing forward new evidence that threatens to destabilize alliances and trust. Robyn's eyes widen in shock. Christine's gaze sharpens with opportunity. Janelle bites her lip nervously, and Meri's hands tremble slightly, as she processes the implications, while Kody feels occasions, while Kody feels additions, while Kody feels additions, while Kody feels a destabilized, while Kody feels a destarpens, while Kody feels a deals additions, while Kody feels a deals destarpendians, brain Kody swak, Christine's deepening the cracks in the family's foundation. The prosecution seizes the moment, highlighting inconsistencies and pressing for admissions, creating escalating tension, the courtroom alternating between tense silence and emotional outbursts. Robyn rising to challenge claims with a mixture of vulnerability and defiance, Christine dissecting every argument with calculated precision, Janelle pleading for understanding amidst tears, and Meri amidst tears, and Meri tears, and Meri amidst tears, and Meri caring for understanding amidst tears, and Meri amidst tears, and Meri amidst tears, and Meri amidst tears, and Meri argument. Kody attempting to respond with honesty while grappling with guilt and fear. Every exchange, every glance, every hesitation keeps the audience on the edge of their seats. A confidential letter is revealed unexpectedly, implicating further layers of manipulation, hidden motives, and personal agendas. Robyn gasping audibly, Christine's eyes glinting with a sense of calculated advantage, Janelle trembling, Meri frozen in disbelief, and Kody paling as he comprehends the ramifications, the courtroom suspended in silence as the gravity of these revelations sinks in. The judge questions Kody, and 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 the conference Kody, and the judge questions Kody, and the courtroom suspended in accordingly. Consequences: the emotional intensity reaching a fever pitch, Robyn's voice rising with fury and heartbreak, Christine's responses precise and cutting, Janelle's pleas tinged with desperation, Meri's careful interjections attempting mediation, and Kody balancing explanation, accountability, and emotional vulnerability, the tension almost unbearable. Every heartbeat, every emotional outburst keeps viewers glued to, and every emotional outburst keeps viewers glued to, glued to, glued to, glued to, glued to, glued to, and every emotional outburst keeps viewers glued to, and every emotional outburst keeps viewers glued to, and every emotional outburst keeps viewers glued to, and every Midway, a shocking audio recording is introduced. A heated argument between two wives discussing influence, alliances, and grievances, the content directly contradicting previous statements and creating immediate turmoil. Robyn gasps and presses her hands to her mouth. Janelle's eyes fill with tears. Meri's fingers tighten around her notebook. Kody leans forward, frozen, while Christine sits composed yet aware of the strategic advantage. Tension and disbelief. As cross-examinations continue, each wife is forced to answer directly, defend decisions, and face uncomfortable truths. Robyn's raw emotion clashing with Christine's surgical precision. Janelle pleading for understanding and fairness. Meri carefully attempting mediation, and Kody struggling to explain motives, intentions, and mistakes. The courtroom a crucible of emotional intensity and suspense, with each rev of emotional intensity and suspense, with each rev of intensity and suspense, with each rev of emotional intensity and suspense, with each rev emotional intensity and suspense, with each rev emotional intensity and suspense, with each
Trust.
At the end of the session, a last piece of evidence is unveiled, a handwritten letter in which secret strategies and private choices made their way into finances and relationships within the household. Robyn recoiling in horror, Christine watching with calculating awareness, Janelle shaking, Meri taking in the weight of exposure, and Kody understanding the full implications of years of backroom maneuvering. Courtroom silent except for the sound of Palant, except for the sound of Palant, except for the sound of Palant. Courtroom silent of Palants. Avering, courtroom silent of Palant of its sound of Palants, is Moushold, Olaswing, the sound of Pating lands. Janelle says for the sound of Pating metting. Judge adjourns the session, gavel ringing sharply, the family moving out with faces twisted in exhaustion, sadness, fear, and determination, Robyn wiping away tears, Christine walking with quiet calculation, Janelle exhaling shaky, Meri holding tightly to her notebook, and Kody moving slowly, burdened by the emotional and legal tempests, out of the courtroom and into the darkness, leaving the audience wishing to see how the Browns will weather the darkness, leaving the audience wishing to see how the Browns will weather the light, how the Browns will weather the light, the darkness, leaving the audience wishing to see how the Browns will weather the darkness, leaving the audience wishing to see how the Browns will weather the darkness, leaving the audience survive the emotional whirlpool to come. The eighth and last session opens with the courtroom heavy with tension so strong that it seems to weigh down upon all who are present. Kody sitting stiff, shoulders set but face pale, fists clenching tightly on the table as he prepares for the discoveries that have the potential to forever transform his family. Robyn leaning forward, eyes shining with fear, pain, and determination. Christine keeping up her poised, calculating presence. A small smell, small 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 straw small strong fams small smell holds, Janelle's fingers ringing nervously in her lap, chest rising and falling rapidly with her attempt to fight back tears, and Meri holding her notebook so tightly in her hand that the pages crackle under her fingers, the judge calling the court to order, gavel crashing sharply and echoing through the room, announcing that the final truths are about to be revealed, each word heavy with the potential to crush the fine web of trust. The first witnessed, 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 the first witnessed. The stand, voice calm but heavy with suggestion, speaking of discussions, secret meetings, and incidents that expose secret alliances, manipulations, and betrayals that have long been seething beneath the surface, the courtroom leaning with every word, Kody's jaw clenching, mind racing through years of decisions, Robyn's eyes going wide with shock and heartbreak, Christine's eyes sharp and alert, calculating every possible advantage, Janelle pressing her calculating every possible advantage, Janelle pressing her hive, Janelle pressing her mussing her Janelle pressing her eye, then heart pressing her hath and heartbreak, Janelle pressing her up and alert, Janelle pressing her up and heart pressable advantage, flood in and Meri leaning forward, heart pounding. As the witness goes on, new evidence is revealed. Emails, text messages, and scribbled notes that shed light on secret discussions, private plans, and hidden agendas, contradicting earlier testimony and revealing the web of influence and deception at the heart of the family. Robyn wincing as she reads messages implying favoritism and manipulation. Christine's eyes shining with the excitement of strategic advantage, Janelle shaking with incredulity, Meri going pale as she struggles to reconcile her perception with the reality unfolding, and Kody taking in the magnitude of disclosure, guilt, fear, and frustration crashing through him. The prosecution pushes on, asking accurate, incisive questions aimed at extracting clarity and responsibility, the courtroom hanging heavy with tension. Emotion, Robyn standing to refute claims with burning passion, Christine dissecting arguments with surgical cool, Janelle quietly appealing for justice and compassion, Meri hesitantly intervening, trying to broker peace, and Kody making excuses that swing between defense, apology, and regret, the dance of emotion, strategy, and legal dissection producing a scene of almost unbearable intensity. Every disclosure is a shockwave. Midway through, a secret letter is revealed, accusing secret manipulations, covert agendas, and decision-making with no transparency, Robyn gasping, Christine's eyes furrowed with calculated comprehension, Janelle shaking in fear and disbelief, Meri clutching her notebook, and Kody blanching as the gravity of the letter sets in, the courtroom still apart from the distant scratching of notes and low murmurs. The judge interrogates Kody, and 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 the distically, and the judge interrogates Kody, and the distant scratching of notes. The judge interrogates Kody, and the decure, and the judge interrogates Kody, and the distant scratching of no, escalating with each utterance. Robyn's voice breaking with heartbreak and fury, Christine's replies snapping with calculated precision, Janelle's prayers laced with desperation, Meri trying measured mediation, and Kody grappling to state intentions, errors, and justifications, every moment piling suspense, intrigue, and emotional depth. Every moment seems like the pendulum of family destiny weighing precariously. Suddenly, a shocking audio tape is heard. An angry argument between two wives regarding alliances, power, and complaints, the content refuting earlier testimony and causing instant pandemonium. Robyn putting her hands to her mouth in shock, Janelle's eyes brimming with tears, Meri clenching her notebook in her hand, Kody sitting forward, aghast, and Christine sitting forward, aghast, and Christine sitting poised but taking in the strategic value the tape holds. Tension and then 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 the day. Heartbeat and rhythm with the expectation of the next revelation. The prosecution builds on, forcing witnesses to answer directly, justify previous behavior, and face ugly truths. Robyn's raw emotions searing against Christine's strategic precision, Janelle begging for empathy, Meri navigating the tempest with care, and Kody trying to respond with candor and accountability. The courtroom is suspense, emotion, and revelation crucible, a 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 roll of the revelation crucible, the Robynity, ultithol, the Robyn searing, Robyn plastance, emotion, and revelation crucible, the rollables, family cohesion. As the trial continues, a surprise witness is presented, revealing a series of clandestine meetings and transmissions that actively contradict previous statements and uncover secretive plans that manipulated family relationships. Robyn's shock and outrage clear in every look, Christine's eyes sparkling with anticipation and advantage, Janelle shuddering in fear and bewilderment, Meri silently calculating long-term repercussions and Kodying long-term repercussions, and Kodying long-term repercussions, and Kody and Kody long-term repercussions, and Kody, Christine's that, mobulating Christine's eyes sparkling long-term repercussions, and Kody it, laid bare in ways beyond his control. The prosecution takes advantage, pointing out inconsistencies, demanding confessions, and forcing the wives and Kody to dance in an emotionally charged atmosphere, Robyn passionately arguing for herself, Christine answering in precision and strategy, Janelle begging for understanding and compassion, Meri walking the fine line between honesty and diplomacy, and Kody torn between justification, apology, and Kody torn between justification, apology, and Kody torn between justification, apology, and ungiven for vacation, apology, and compassion, Meri walking the fine line between justification, apology, the Pothaline, revelation, every look and every hesitation has the audience riveted, unable to turn away. Midway through, a scribbled note is inserted, outlining secret strategies and alliances that had impacted financial decisions and interpersonal relationships, Robyn shrinking back in horror, Christine watching with calculated assessment, Janelle shaking, Meri absorbing the reality, and Kody gulping hard, the courtroom hush save for the whispers of incredulity and the scratching sound of pen against paper, the tension almost at its climax of pen against paper, the tension almost at its climax and against paper, the tension almost at its climax and its climax in its paper, as Kody plus climax, and tension almost at its climax in its paper, and Kody gulping horror, Van curtain sticking, and a Kody gulping horror, on clarity, accountability, and insight, Robyn standing up to speak with raw emotion and confrontation, Christine dissecting allegations with methodical precision, Janelle injecting heartfelt pleas, Meri modulating carefully, and Kody balancing explanation with regret, the air electric with suspense and passion. Viewers are riveted, every second a pulse-pounding drama. Toward the climax, a final, explosive piece of evidence is presented, a recording revealing previously unknown strategies and private conversations that cast doubt, reveal manipulation, and upend the family's understanding of past actions. Robyn gasping audibly, Janelle sobbing quietly, Meri's fingers gripping the notebook, Kody leaning forward, stunned, and Christine's eyes flashing with the recognition of control. The courtroom charged while. The courtroom charged while. The courtroom charged watched while. The courtroom charged while. The courtroom charged watched. The courtroom charged watched while. Charged while. Prosecution drives the point, pressing for admissions, demanding truth, and unraveling hidden layers of decision-making, Robyn and Christine clashing in raw emotional confrontation. Janelle pleading for empathy, Meri mediating carefully, and Kody struggling to reconcile guilt, accountability, and familial responsibility, the intensity reaching a fever pitch, the suspense and emotional stakes higher than ever. Every second, every second, every reaction, every second, every reaction, every reaction, every second, every reaction, emotional stakes higher than ever. Every second, every reaction, and virtuous and every second, every second, every second, every second, every second, every second.
Family unity.
In the last minutes, the judge permits Kody and the wives to make closing statements, Robyn speaking from the heart with emotional truth, Christine delivering a measured, calculated, and strategic defense, Janelle begging for comprehension, Meri looking back at the necessity for reconciliation, and Kody trying to speak words of remorse, explanation, and hope for healing to come, the emotion and tension so heavy it feels nearly palpable, and tension so heavy it feels nearly palpable. Feels nearly palpable. Christine Steep feels nearly palpable. Coaguling tension so heavy it feels nearly palpable. The Nistikin feels nearly palpable. Distinctive words, betrayals, and unspoken motives have met and nothing remains untouched. The session ends with the judge's gavel on the bench, the sound echoing through the courtroom, the family exiting emotionally spent but forever altered, Robyn wiping away tears, Christine walking with unspoken purpose, Janelle shaking but unbroken, Meri holding her notebook of closer insight, and Kody moving slowly, weighed down by responsibility, the audience left reeling, left reeling, the sound echoing moving slowly, the family left reeling, slowly, weighed down by responsibility, the audience left reeling, slowly, weighed down by strength needed to survive such a deluge of revelation. Comment below. Who do you believe has the greatest power in the Brown family today, and who do you think will actually come out unscathed?